What's up everyone, and welcome to a different kind of video. And for that, I would like to present to you Guide Guy. Now Guide Guy is a special individual. As you can see from this back of his head being shaven, he was subjected to a very weird and experimental treatment where he was injected every single knowledge from the game of Bannerlord. So basically he knows everything. And, well, our goal with this series, well, this is my first episode, but maybe we'll make this sort of series, is to basically talk to you about just Bannerlord in general, and tips, guides, all that. Today, I want to talk about workshops. Now, I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube talking about what workshop you should be running at each city and which one is going to be the most profitable, but that info is really very game dependent, depending on what's going on in your world of Calradia. So in this video, what I intend to do is talk about how, where, when, and why you should build your workshops. And as well as that, give you some nice min-maxing tips so you can extract as much money as you can from these. I know a lot of you guys just think about workshops and say, well, I'm just going to build a brewery everywhere and that's going to make me some money. But like this guy, this shop worker, that's zero work. And you know what zero work gives you? Zero profit. Unless you strike gold and you're lucky, but that could not happen. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about workshops and how to always get good profitable ones. So let's get right into it. But what are workshops? Some of you that are less familiar with this game might ask. Well, you can think of workshops sort of like a modern factory. So they turn a raw good into a nice little produced good that sells for a lot more money than the raw good. There are a lot of different workshops in Calradia though. This, for example, is a wool weavery. This, on the other hand, is a pottery shop. Now, on the outside, and well, in the game, even on the inside, they can probably look alike. But here's the thing. Each workshop takes a different raw good and produces a different manufactured good. Now, right now on the screen, I'm going to put out a list that I made of what workshops take what raw good and what they produce. This will also be down in the description so you guys can always know where to find it. Something else you guys need to know about workshops is that there is a cap on how many workshops you can own, and that depends on your clan tier. For those of you who don't really know how to check this, you go to your clan page, which is right here, and then you can check your clan tier right about here. Mine right now is 1. If you go to the other section here, you can check how many workshops you can build. Something else that's important to note is that you won't be making millions of dinars out of this. Not really. But it's a good way to make passive income and maybe to pay the salaries of your troops, which is, you know, in itself already a good way to kickstart your campaign. Now, let's move on to the things you should keep in mind when you're trying to decide on where you should build your workshops. It's important to note that if an enemy faction takes the city in which you have built your workshop, you will lose that workshop. So the first thing you want to keep in mind is the location where you build it. Now, let's take the Vladians, for example. As you can see, Sargot, Sharos, Oxol, if even Prevent and Rovalt, you would call them border towns. They're very close to the border with other factions. So these are towns where you don't really want to buy a workshop. On the other end, Jacqueline, Gallant, and Ostison are kind of protected. They have a bit of a buffer. So these could be good locations in where you want to build your workshops. Something else you need to know is that if your city is under siege, in this case it's a castle, but I'm just trying to demonstrate the icon that will appear for the people that don't really know. If your town is under siege, the workshop you have in that town will not be producing anything. Let's move on to the connected villages and castles. So this is kind of a well-known thing by now, but I still see some people saying some mistakes, so I want to clarify this. This is a very important process when you're trying to decide what kind of workshop you're going to build in the city. So in the economy of Bannerlord, the villages that are connected to a town will provide the good that they make to the town. Let me explain a little bit. Now, let's take Lycaron, for example. If you mouse over it, you can see that if it decided to help, there you go. You can see that the bound villages are Segura and Cantarion. Also, don't mind my pronunciations during this video, I'm really bad at them. Now, if we check Segura and Cantarion, which are right here, you can check what kind of raw good they produce. They have a little symbol next to their name, but if you're not really sure what that means, you can always mouse over the village and it will tell you. Primary production, Midlands palfrey. In Segura, primary production, sheep. If you go to a town and you go to the trade screen and you go to this little icon right here, you can also check which villages are bound to this town, what they produce, and also the workshops that are already built in the town. Now, what a lot of people don't talk about when they talk about bound villages is that castles also have bound villages. If you go to Chenopsis Castle, for example, its bound villages are Chenopsis, makes sense, and Popsia, sorry, right here and right here. Now these, while bound to the castle, need to trade their goods in a town. Now, I'm not 100% sure, and you need to kind of figure this out by just jumping in game and looking where the villagers go to trade their goods. But I would bet that Chenopsis probably trades their goods in Phycon? Yeah, pronunciations, please. Because it's closer to it, but the Popsia villagers are probably going to go to Lycaron. Seems about right. Now, this information is not very easily accessible in terms of the bound villages, where they go if they're bound to a castle. So a lot of people miss good opportunities to make workshops because of this. There's another little thing you can do to check, which I'll show you. Now, if you go to the trade screen of any town, you can also kind of check what they have a lot of raw goods. And that's going to mean that there's a lot of villages that produce that sort of good. If you go to the trade screen, like I said, and you double click on the number, you'll see what this town has a lot of quantity of. Right here you can see that they have a lot of clay, beer, hardwood, butter. Now some of these are manufactured good, like beer for example, but hardwood is not. Hardwood is a raw good. But the villages that we saw, none of them have hardwood, right? It's probably Popsia here that comes into play. And you can kind of see that it's not technically bound to the town, but it actually is, and the raw goods are coming here. So building, for example, a smithy here would be maybe a good idea. Now, the next thing you want to make sure you want to look at when you're deciding the location is prosperity. Prosperity basically measures the wealth of each town, or castle, or village. They all have a prosperity value. Prosperity will lower if a town is besieged or changes hands. So it's another reason you want to go for isolated areas of the map where towns will be protected. That way the prosperity will not lower and will always be high, hopefully. Now, why is prosperity important? If your prosperity is high, right, your goods will sell for more, and that means you'll make a lot more money. How do you check prosperity though? Well, it's easy. You go to the town screen, and right here, prosperity. This town, Lycaron, has 3,789.5 of prosperity. Decent, especially for the start of the game, but you want to try to aim for something that's 5k or above. Well, but how do you buy a workshop? Well, first, you need about 15k in dinars in order to be able to buy a workshop. And we don't really cover that from the start of the game. But if you guys want to see a guide on how to get your first, let's say 15-20k to kind of build and start your party and your kingdom, well, make sure to leave a like so I know you're liking this content, and we'll be back for more next time. Now, if you already have the money, the first thing you need to do is choose a location. Right now, my choice is Sanala. As you can see, Sanala is very isolated from all the other towns. It's deep in the heart of the Aserai Empire. Also, I'm not going to go at war with the Aserai, so we're going to be okay. Let's check the prosperity of this. It's only 4.3k, 4,300, let's say. But here's the thing, this save game is very fresh, so prosperity is always going to be a bit more on the lower side. By the time you have to do the things to get like around 15k to be able to get your first workshop, there are probably going to be towns with like 5k or over prosperity that you can get good value from. So now in terms of how to actually get the workshop. Now you could go take a walk around the town center and go to the place where the workshop is and buy it, but I have a little bit of a simpler way to do this. So you just go up here and you see, for example, the Ironmonger says that it's the owner of the smithy. So you click on her and you talk to her and you say, hey, I'm God Guy, who are you, blah, 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 I wish to buy your smithy. Boom, easy. Now she's going to ask me for the amount that the workshop is worth. I'm going to say, yes, I have the money, I'm willing to pay that. Okay, good, we have a deal, and that's it. The workshop is done. Now here's the thing. Do you want to keep it as a smithy? Now, if you go to your clan screen again, and you go to others, you will see that you have your first workshop right here. You can also, from this screen, sell or change the production of your workshop, which will take a little bit of money, but sometimes it's more than worth it to pay the money to actually get a more profitable shop running. Something else you want to make sure of is that you don't have more than one workshop of the same type in each town, because it will just steal the goods and the profits from the other workshops, and it will just clearly not work. Not even if you have a town that has 20 villages producing grain for it. Okay, that may be a bit exaggerating, but you know what I mean. Only one workshop of one type in each town. So for the last little advice, when you buy a workshop, don't be scared if on the first days you're not making a lot of money. In this workshop, as you can see, I'm only making about 68 dinars in the first days. That's fine. It's very low, but it's fine. You usually want something around 150 to 250 dinars. That's like good. But in the first days, it's gonna start like this, and it's gonna slowly burn into, well, something like this. As you can see, I have 6 workshops right now in this playthrough, and they're all making a good amount of money. Some of you already may know, this is my playthrough that I run on this channel, and it's also always recorded live on Twitch from Monday to Friday. I stream. If you guys want to check my Twitch, the link will be down below, and you can follow me and know when I'm live. If you don't, that's fine. Now, we come to the first min-maxing tip. If you really want to get as much money as possible from your workshop, you want to find a town that has at least 2 villages of the same production. For example, here in Sanala, if we take a look at the productions of the villages, we have 3 grain villages. Now this is a perfectly very good place to build a brewery, of course. Now, because we saw Sanala as 3 bound villages that produce grain, we're going to change this smithy to a brewery. And I'm going to give an example now to change the production. So all you need is the amount of money, which is usually 2k. I'm not sure if it's always 2k, but I think it is. You just click change production, you click on this case brewery, and then your profits will reset, but don't worry, after a couple of days of running, they'll come back. Now, my second min-maxing tip comes in the form of buying the goods that you're producing. Just pay attention. So we have a brewery here. Because we have a brewery, that means that beer will always be very cheap. As you can see from the beer, its average price is 58% cheaper than average. All you do is you buy your beer that you have right here. You could either keep it to yourself because you might need food, or you can go and sell it in other towns. And that way, for profits of course, and that way you can double dip. You can make money from your trading, and you can make the money that you make from getting more beer out. So, let's quickly summarize all of that information. First, you want to buy workshops to make passive income, not to make you rich. Second, you want to buy workshops in a town that's kind of far away and kind of isolated. That way, you don't have the danger of losing that town and losing the workshop and all your profit. Third, make sure to watch the bound villages and know what they produce. That way, you can get the best possible workshop that you can. You want to make as much money as you can, don't you? Also, make sure that the prosperity is high. Over 5k is preferable, but also remember that in the beginning of the game, prosperity will continue to rise over the course of the game. Last thing, make sure you only have 1 workshop of each type. As you can see, I kind of did a mistake here. I have 2 breweries. Not good. So I'll have to change that if I want to make as much profit as I can. So yeah, that's about it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to leave a like and to subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. If you guys have any doubts, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer your comment as quickly as I can. And if you have any tips for others or anything that you think is wrong and you might want to debate it, or you want to tell me I'm wrong just because, well, I might be wrong, also leave it in the comments and we'll try to come to a consensus. But yeah, that's about it. So I want to thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.